Welcome everybody to Blerdlines. This is your man Cam. With me as always is,
The other Kim, the last of the Negro Hekins in flesh.
as well as,
Hey, this is Josh, aka Banana Top.
and we're back with quick reactions to Gunn's Superman. He just dropped the trailer yesterday. We've all seen it. It's all making the head. Making the rounds, making the headways. Everyone got a little bit of fuzzy feels. People are hype about it. If nothing else, this is probably, I think Josh said it best, since the Batman trailer dropped. When that first dropped, people have the same kind of feeling of like, oh, okay, the eyebrow has now been raised. Whether you think it's dope or not, you're definitely talking about it. And I think if nothing else, that's what a trailer's supposed to do. So it's like some people are going overboard and being like, this is amazing, it's the best thing ever. And other people are skeptical, it's gimmicky, it's the same old shit, da 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 da. But at the end of the day, the trailer is supposed to get you talking, and I think everyone is talking.
Yeah, I mean, I was when I saw it, I was reflecting yesterday on how, as 4 or 5 years old, I'm probably the only one in the group who went to see the original 79 Donner film in the theater as a kid. And it definitely rekindled. This was the first Superman that I've seen that rekindled that feeling that I had when I was a kid of seeing that movie in the theater and just completely like being enthralled and wowed by the essence of Superman. This is Superman, just if you're into superhero stuff, even at that age, it wasn't exactly novel, except it was the first superhero film on the big screen that did all of the things. Like, Superman flew, and it wasn't like it didn't look like he was just laying on a green screen plate or a block, doing the thing. He was they innovated to make it look like he was flying. But more importantly, they caught the essence of the character. Little things that Christopher Reeves did, the classically trained Juilliard actor, sort of created that dichotomy between Clark Kent and Superman. He would slump over and his hair would be a little bit more disheveled, and then when he's Superman, even if he's dressed as Clark Kent, he would stand up straighter, and he would be a little bit more rigid in his facial expressions, things like that. So the gun, but jumping over to Gunn's past work, he's a competent writer. We were just talking about this before we started. He's an extremely competent writer and director. If he does a series of things, there's no inconsistencies. Everything is airtight, and plays next installment off the last, and builds really well from a character perspective. So he's I think he's positioned to do well with it. The only thing is that he seems to be more adept at, like, I just started watching Creature Commandos, and the thing is, he seems to be way adept at like oddball, goofball characters that are usually not of the mainstream like Superman is. And he does ensembles really well. I mean, if he does an ensemble, he can probably do a single character pretty well, I would imagine. Ensembles being a whole different ball of wax by comparison. But yeah, at least based on the trailer, I think he appears to be nailing it.
Cam, what you thinking?
I'm not the biggest Superman fan. I don't know why.
What about
Neither. Yeah, what about Superman? I don't really connect with him. But I get the importance in the grand scheme of Justice League, and he does have standalone value. It's just whenever a Superman movie comes out, I don't know. For me, I'm not like, again, I'm just not a Superman fan, but I'm not a hater. Like, I'll go watch the movies, right? And I did watch. She said 79. I might have been a thought 79 when the Christopher Reeve first Superman came out, but I watched them all as a kid. They were cool. But this is before my palette expanded on other superheroes at that time. And I've grown fond of other characters. And I always, like I said, I mentioned offline to you guys. Right now, Superman reminds me of the first Captain America. Like every movie, because the man is he's the most indestructible person on planet Earth. I'm like, all right, who is his villains, right? Is it Lex Luthor and or Space Rock, or is the threat something that can't defeat him, something that's a threat to humanity, which he does not always have the power to control? Because at the end of the day, you can control what you control. It's hard to kill Superman. So I'm just like, okay, how can they make something appealing where I should care about Superman? But I will go watch it. But I'll say this to kind of piggyback off Gunn. I'm not watching this because of the Superman movie. I'm watching it because it's a James Gunn movie. And for me, this is good for better or worse. James Gunn has kind of put himself in a niche category where I know it's a James Gunn movie. It's no, just like they said, the ensemble cast, the goofy characters, the he I don't want to say he takes chances, but he writes where he highlights the lesser known collective groups of individuals in film are highlighted. Like I never really tripped on Guardians in the Galaxy unless I saw them as like secondary characters in like an animation or something, right? And he put them to the forefront, and I was like, oh, he did this well. He did Suicide Squad well. Again, I know Suicide Squad, but when it comes down to the matter of fact, I know Justice League more, right? Until he brought those to the forefront, and he knows how to do his gun thing very well. And when I look at Superman, I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely a James Gunn movie. The trailer smells or looks like James Gunn. But it wasn't like the Suicide Squad trailer where it was like music and a montage of just images. The trailer looks cool. I'm curious where they're gonna go, because again, if this wasn't James Gunn, I saw the goofy looking space character and the way things are. You know what? To sidetrack, I saw the character and I was like, okay, this is gonna be a James Gunn Superman take. The one, and it's not a negative or positive. It's more on the case of, if this is going to be a new take, I would have loved them to go away from the original composer to do a new composition for Superman. I get it. It's nostalgia. This is Superman, right? You hear the composer do his Superman thing in like a kind of a rock thing, but it would have been interesting if they'd have went a different route just to give a fresh new musical taste on it. Just out of curiosity.
We will not have John Williams. We will not have John Williams blasphemy on this podcast.
See, that's not blasphemy. This is not blasphemy. This is just, if you're gonna have an adaptation and a take on it, why not go a different route, right? So
See that? No, I can see that.
James Gunn, we trust James Gunn enough to do this project because, look, again, James Gunn said it himself. He had to find an angle to connect with Superman. That's why he didn't do the movie, right? That's why they have the dog in there to show that he's like a Joe Blow. Where's he gonna be walking a dog on the moon? It's a super dog, right? So we're gonna see how this plays out, because the trailer doesn't give much. It just looks like Superman's in trouble. He's not liked by the people. It's not a retelling of Superman. We already have a collection of
origin story
individuals, characters in here. So this world is already established, which is a good thing, because we do not need another retelling of Superman. So
yeah, I think that's the one thing I do like, is that we've gotten past that part where, like, just like Josh says, the original came out in the late 70s. We know this story. We know the origin. Even if you don't know Superman, you know Superman. Like, if you're not a comic book person or anything, you have a basic essence of what the character is already. So now we're just getting dropped in, and now they're telling a story. And I think that's a better way to go about it. Then you can have a little bit more fun with the different characters that you bring in. They brought in Hawkeye. We have the redemption of Mr. Terrific. Finally. from the version that was the CW, which I won't even comment on. You have the inclusion of Nathan Fillion finally being able to be a Green Lantern. It's gonna be pretty, which alone should be hilarious. So I think, like, it. I was telling someone when I watched the trailer, I was like, oh, this is good. It's the nostalgia hits. It gives you a little peek into what's going on. You got all the classic things that you want to see in a Superman trailer. And again, it hit all the notes that you want. If I'm an exec and I saw this, I'd be like, boom, cool. Looks like my money's been well spent. And the reaction that I'm seeing from the people as well, same thing. And like you said, back with James Gunn, like, James Gunn knows how to make a movie. We all know this. We've seen it. We've enjoyed the stuff that he does. Even if it's not as good, it's still good, right? And I think he's gotten himself a nice track record where like people that kind of like what Cam said, he's like, I'm not the biggest fan of Superman either. I'm not the biggest fan of Batman, but the Batman was a fucking dope movie. And so again, you can tell that both of these directors are like, okay, how am I going to make this a good movie with these characters as opposed to make a good superhero movie? And I think I hope this is the page that's been turning, that now people are just trying to make good movies that have comic book characters in it, not a good comic book movie. And I think at this point, this is where we're starting to see it more.
Can I ask something? And this is kind of off subject, but within the realm of this movie. One of the characters in the trailer was Guy Gardner, right? Green Lantern. Isn't he supposed to be the second greatest Green Lantern? And look, I'm
third or fourth.
Third.
So again, this falls into the, hey, Gunn is bringing his third or fourth Green Lantern that I've never heard about. Arguably, people are saying on the internet he's the second greatest Green Lantern. But I'm like,
he's the second. He's certainly the second most popular after Hal Jordan.
So why is this my first time seeing it?
Two reasons. One is, like Green Lanterns are very interesting. One, personal beef. Hal Jordan sucks. He always sucks. I don't never liked him. This is what it is. And so that's why when Justice League and Justice League Unlimited happened, and you have a black Green Lantern, and it was just like, yeah, more interesting guy, super cool powers, dope. Then you have Guy Gardner, who's more of the fun Green Lantern, right? He's a little bit goofier, a little rough around the edges, more of an everyman kind of a guy. He basically takes over for Hal at some point. And then you have another Green Lantern, which is Kyle Rat Rayner, who's also really dope too. So I think it's actually a smart play to kind of do this, because Guy Gardner is one of those characters in the comic realm that's a very popular niche guy. Like if you're a comic book fan and you know Green Lantern, you know Guy Gardner, but he's not a large pop culture reference. So you'll be way more with the other two than you will with Guy. And I think it was a smart play to how to do this. Yeah, than Jon Stewart, because this is a good play because we have a Green Lanterns TV show on the horizon, which I think is 2026, 2027, something like that. And so there you're going to get the Hal Jordans, you're going to get the Jon Stewarts, and then so like putting either one of them in a Superman movie might not be the best move, but taking the third most understood Green Lantern, which to James Gunn's credit, like you said, he's good at taking obscure characters and making people care about them. So best believe if Guy Gardner is well received within this movie, something's gonna break off easily. Because like that's kind of like how he likes to do things, right? He likes to put people in there and be like, you guys like him? Oh, like him enough that we should do something with them. Boom! Now he's gonna be in the Green Lantern TV show.
I would say Guy Gardner is the exact type of character that James Gunn is gonna play around with and have fun writing. And I think he's a good antithesis to sort of take the piss out of Superman, whereas Superman is, upright, he's the Boy Scout. Without even getting into graphic detail, we all know, the take on Superman tends to be that he's a Boy Scout above all other things. Guy Gardner is the exact antithesis. So watching them play off of each other on screen is going to be hilarious. There's all the comedy moments. Among the comedy moments that are going to be in this thing, I guarantee you Guy Gardner is going to be comedy relief. And casting Nate Fillion as Guy Gardner is just he's going to body this thing. There's a movie it's a movie or TV series waiting to happen. Guaranteed.
And I think that's and then adding in again lesser known characters, right? Mr. Terrific, he was in CW's Arrow. He was
we weren't going to talk about that.
He was also in Justice League Unlimited. And then you have Hot Girl, who also was in the CW show and then also as known within Justice League type of stuff. So I'm curious to see what they do with Metamorpho, because that's another one of those interesting characters that's not necessarily popular but known of if you watch cartoons or if you have anything like that. So it's smart. I think for him, on a Gunn level, it's smart to pick the second, third tier characters to put in Superman, so he's not just by himself. Because again, we don't want another freaking Bryan Singer Superman where he's just bench pressing stuff all day.
That's something we should not mention ever.
So I'm curious to see how these dynamics all kind of come together. And, just like Guardians of the Galaxy, like when Guardians of the Galaxy was first announced back in the day, I've actually read Guardians of the Galaxy since the 80s when it was like the really weird ragtag people. And then I also read it when it got this iteration. So when I heard they were making a movie, I was like, this doesn't make any sense because none of these characters are popular. No one knows who the fuck these people are. So how are you going to take characters that no one knows and make them lovable? Now here we are 10 years later, everyone knows Guardians of the Galaxy. They're super lovable. Everyone loves these types of characters. So he has a good track record of doing that, and I think he's going to do a good job with it. I haven't watched Commandos yet, but I've heard it's people digging the show and how it's all intertwined. And Frank Grillo is going to reprise Rick Flag Sr. in Superman supposedly as well. So again, that goes to extra connective tissue that puts all of these things together in a subtle way that doesn't have to be this, MCU blatantly, hey, cameo by this character kind of
right. Creature Commandos has been phenomenal so far. Phenomenal. It reinforces what we were just talking about. James Gunn and kooky characters, hidden not hidden like non-mainstream characters. He has mastered it. Like he absolutely bodies Creature Commandos in a way that probably should not work, but would only ever work for someone like him.
Yeah, and then same with Peacemaker too, right? Like, who cares about Peacemaker in comic books? No one. And he took a character that no one cares about and made it work. Now, John Cena is a big part of that, but even in the ensemble cast, the people that they use, Vigilante and the other random people, it actually works. So, I think that in a way, this is it's looking good. I think in general, I think I'm glad that they kind of dropped the trailer for this now, because now it kind of gives again, DC is starting to finally claw back from the muck that who shall not be named got them into. And I think that and to James Gunn's credit, he actually gave him a nod. He's like, hey man, all the stuff we're doing now, we were just building on what was done before. We recognize what's going on, but we're going to go on a different route. So it's good that happened. That allowed us to do the things that we're doing now. Again, great peace and love situation. So I think that also recently they greenlit a Clayface movie, which is going to be more horror based thing like that.
Yeah.
Which again is another interesting move where it's like, someone brought him a good idea. B, it's a character that has some interesting levels to it that could be done well. And much like how the Penguin was really good because it was a character, a different take on the character that everyone knows, but in the world of Batman. And I like that for someone that I'm not the biggest fan of Batman, in Penguin, Batman still loomed heavy within the whole world. And I thought that was really good that they did a good job that even though I don't see Batman, you still feel the presence of him in this world that they're trying to occupy.
Let me ask you guys this. Will this connect into the Patterson Batman?
Supposedly, as of right now, they're actively trying not to. They're trying to keep those things as their own separate thing, which I think is actually kind of a good move. It might intertrain at some point, but they're not actively trying to put those things together. So,
it's supposed to be Elseworlds.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm like, it would be cool if Batman existed in this Superman world, but we don't see Batman. Like, there's a subtle nod.
Because, in all likelihood, I mean, if all these other characters, Batman exists, it's just, it won't be the Robert Pattinson Batman.
So that's the problem. That's what I was wanting. I want the Robert Pattinson Batman. Not that they got to make a movie together. This is the problem I have with all these comics. They exist, but they don't coexist, right? So
yeah, and I think I agree with you on that. I think it's gonna be interesting how they're gonna flip it. The one thing that DC does better than Marvel, from a comic standpoint, is when a writer has a take on the characters that might be outside of what their actual normal thing is. DC will be like, they have a thing called Elseworlds, and then like they let these writers play in the sound box of their DC characters, and then let them take their own take that doesn't affect the main one. Marvel a little dumb. Sometimes it will, sometimes it wasn't. It's just all messy. So it seems like they're going that route in the movies where Pattinson's Batman is kind of in its own realm, which I personally think is cool because at least they can let him be dark and broody and all that kind of stuff. If they come in with Batman into this Superman focused world, it'd be an interesting take. But like you said, it would be cool if they connected. I'm not sure if they will or not. I actually like that they have a separation of it just because the the mode and tone that Reeves is setting with his Batman world is very, very dark and kind of broody. And I actually like that that's a take that they like. Batman's the best when he's broody and an asshole. When he's like super nicey nice with everybody, it's just like, ugh. But that's because I don't like Batman.
I read something where Matt Reeves does not intend to. I mean, I don't know if it's fully his decision or not, but as of the last thing that I read, he does not intend to have, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. Like he's not. Batman exists on his own.
So here's the thing. I hope this Gunn's thing, because I don't want Gunn to direct a Batman movie. I don't even want Batman in this movie now.
No, I don't think he would want to. That doesn't seem like his thing. Like
I'm just saying, if he had plans like the other guy to make this collective of the Justice League, then we're gonna have another Batman.
No. So he planned, at least from what he said, he plans on like the things that he wants to direct and write, he'll direct and write if he feels like he's the best person for it. So, but the overarching idea is that he's gonna run the studio and he's gonna drop in here and there to like do certain things like Creature Commandos. Obviously, I don't think anybody could do it but him. Superman, I was a little surprised that he picked that, but I understand it's also the flagship, so he chose to write that one. But then if there's a Wonder Woman, if they redo a Wonder Woman movie, he's not going to be the one. Most likely, he won't be the one to do it. He'll probably have someone to do it and just executive produce it.
Yeah, because I don't want to see another I like the Patterson Batman. I like this tone that they're taking with this Batman on more real world rogues villains, and they seem more acceptable in my mind. Even though
Batman.
Twilight's a bad reference fan. Like Twilight was terrible, but this version of Batman just seems more real. You had a serial killer, and this is more applicable.
It's allowed him to be a detective. Yeah,
and I like that they kept it where this is only like the more interesting Batman to me is the one where he's still figuring it out. Like he's a badass to a point, but he like even in this movie he didn't win. Like the city got destroyed, he had to figure it out. Like so I like this Batman where he's not the Batman that we know that can do anything, kill anyone, and we're gonna beat anyone. Always knows everything. He's still figuring it out, and I think that was fun to watch because he was he was getting beat up a little bit. He was figuring out some of the stuff that he says was influencing things in the wrong way. Like that's the fun Batman, or that's the Batman to me that's the most interesting.
Agreed.
But now and it's going to be interesting. And like I agree, I was actually surprised that Gunn was going to do a Superman because this is not the type of character that he likes. He, like you said, he likes the quirkiness. He likes the little known guys. He likes to take obscure people and make them have more depth than people ever give him credit for. So it'll be an interesting take to see how he squares this because if Superman's in there and him and Guy Gardner doing all jokey in a diner or something like that, it'll be hilarious. But also, what is that Superman? And so I'm curious to see how he can like square that away and if he can hit it out the park. And then again, so far, like I said, Creature Commandos was that first silo of like, this is the new tone that we're taking. And I haven't watched it, but you guys were talking about it before and you were saying how like, they have a line of dialogue that connects Creature Commandos with Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad.
And the previous Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah. So it's like,
I mean, it's James Gunn, so he's going to definitely connect his world. So he's overseeing the Creature Commandos. I watched 3 episodes. It's pretty interesting. But it's basically Suicide Squad with creatures. So there's nothing like it's a good formula. Suicide Squad was successful. That's why we're able to branch off on this obscure crew. I don't know who's voicing Amanda Waller. Sounds like the same voice.
It is the same voice.
Okay. So yeah, again, he's just the continuity. In Gunn's world, this is his world. So instead of the Justice League, we're going to get his Justice League of his role gallery of underdog characters that he's going to bring to light. And that's going to be his version of the Justice League. In my opinion, I think that's where he's going.
Yeah, and I think when he does actually do a Justice League at some point in the future or whatever, like I think he's smart enough to know that, okay, the Justice League tone might not be my tone. So let me bring in someone else that likes that. Or if someone pitches something that's dope, that that works. I mean, even prior to Gunn taking over, there were so many different people that were trying to do a take on Superman. Christopher McQuarrie from Mission Impossible fame, him and Henry Cavill were in talks to kind of do. They pitched Warner Brothers to do a Superman reboot that got dismissed. J.J. Abrams tried to do Black Superman with Michael B. Jordan. That kind of fell to the wayside. Even Ta-Nehisi Coates had done a treatment for it at some point. So I was like, I'm really curious to see that. It's interesting that where they got to, but I actually agree with Josh where I'm like, now that he's the studio head, he'll pop in with the things that he likes, but he'll make sure that if other people have good ideas, he's also smart enough to be like, oh, that's a good idea. Where I think someone like a Feige sometimes does a little too much, and where like he doesn't let other folks rock. And I think that was also part of the reason why that split with Gunn and and Guardians and Feige back then, besides all the dumbness that was happening. So
Right.
to wrap everything up, what do you guys want to see from the Superman movie in general? I'll start. And I think for me, honestly, I'm more curious about everyone else that's not Superman and how they fit in and how those treatments are. Like, I'm kind of with Cam. I really don't care about Superman. I never have. But when Superman's with other characters that balance him out and kind of make things a little bit more interesting, because again, he's super powerful. He has little to no flaws. So the other characters around him always make him more interesting. So I'm curious to see how the supporting cast and the addition of these characters fit into that world. And I'm curious to see how all that like plays out.
I think for me, it's just the way the trailer starts out. He's already going a route that's a little different in that whoever or whatever beats the pee out of Superman does it pretty solidly. But in classic fashion, while that's the case, he still writes in moments of heartwarming, heartfelt visuals with things like Crypto the super dog. Excuse me, y'all got me calling him Crypto the dog. Crypto the super dog.
Because that's what he is. He's a dog.
He's the super dog. Crypto the super dog. He's not a normal dog. Coming through and saving Clark. That was pretty cool to see. I got to tell you, I was expecting to not know why he was laid out and bleeding and just completely jammed up. And then dog pops up. Amazing. That was a good moment. And I think that is the essence of James Gunn writing. He's good at creating good moments. And I think that's the thing that we're gonna like. If you just sat there and just counted the moments that he creates, you probably in the trailer alone, you probably came away with probably about 10 to 15 different moments that you can see is sort of cooking in the oven there. So I think it's going to be more of the same, the same that James Gunn provides. That's what I'm looking at.
I'm looking for Lobo. I'm not gonna get it, so it's not a big deal. But let's see. What am I looking for into this Superman? Frankly, nothing. I'm just gonna go watch it and see if it plays well in the theater. That's the only thing I'm gonna look for, how it looks in the theater. And if it's a good movie, cool, because it's James Gunn. He's got a lot of cash and what's the word? Equity with me as far as my movie going experience. But yeah, what I want to see is a Lobo cameo. Will I ever see that? Probably not.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. If they ever that Lobo conversation is always an ongoing one. Well, we'll see if it ever comes.
Lobo kind of fits into James Gunn's wheelhouse.
True.
I would not put that in the trunk of the car just yet. He may very well pull something like that out of his behind. I would say probably in the nearer future than you may think.
I could see that. And also, not to say that Lobo would be in this movie, but if they needed someone to whoop Superman's ass, Lobo would be a person, and it would make sense. Like Lobo could whoop Superman's ass. It would be a fight, but he would if they needed someone to make
to humble him.
Yeah, to humble him or make Superman bleed, Lobo would be a good cameo character to kind of like come in, whoop his ass, and then go keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
One thing before we wrap this up, I will say that with all the Superman movies, the character of Clark Kent, I guess it's consistent, and I kind of like that they always make that Clark Kent. I do think outside of the acting chops, I always thought, oh my God, what's the guy that played Superman recently? He's the Witcher. I'm just having a mind.
Oh, Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill. I always thought he looked like. I was like, this dude looks like Superman. He has the Superman look.
Looks like Christopher Reeves. Yeah,
it looks like Christopher Reeves. He's got the build. So
I mean, so did Brandon Routh. To be fair,
Brandon Routh did look like Superman too. So
he gets Clark Kent too.
Yeah, good Clark Kent, right? But the Clark Kents have always been bumbly, stumbly, hunched over. And somebody joked when they saw the new Clark Kent run into the street, they thought it was the white version of The Pursuit of Happiness. And I was like, oh, that's funny, right? If you go look at the trailer, you see him walking through the crowd, it does remind you of the Will Smith scene, right? But he does look clumsy, and I always love that aspect that Clark, on purpose, makes himself look clumsy, goofball, tries to blend in. And I think from what the tone is this movie, that they're going to try to make this Superman more of an average guy. I'm just trying to fit in type of deal. When he's Clark Kent, because how is he walking this super dog? He's probably on the moon walking his dog because it's super crypt. Was it Crypto the super dog? Is that what you call it?
This is correct.
So anyway, outside of that, I do appreciate out of all the Superman movies, they always keep Clark Kent consistent.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. All right, well, everybody, thanks for rocking with us. We want to just give our quick take on Superman the trailer. And yeah, man. This is the end of the new year, and we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys top of the next year. There'll be some interesting things going on. But yeah, this is Blerdlines, and we out.
Crusader.